Welcome to Yeukai Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host.
Hello everyone and welcome to the show. It's Trevor with you today and I'm joined by my guest, Victor Mosconi. Victor is an executive coach and entrepreneur who helps leaders and other entrepreneurs overcome imposter syndrome, something that Victor suffered with for many years. But there's hope, so keep listening. He's the founder of Imposter Solution Coach and is passionate about helping others live in self-appreciation and empowerment by replacing the imposter thoughts. It's going to be a great conversation as he shares and unpacks some of his insights to help us at wherever we are on that scale. So welcome to the show, Victor Mosconi. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Appreciate being here.
It's brilliant. And it's such a key topic. I think, people are, we mentioned a scale. Some people really suffer from feeling, feelings of being an imposter and a fraud day to day. Some people just now and again. So all your insight will help all of us battle and overcome those thoughts, I'm sure. But it can be crippling for a lot of people as well. So it's a really key topic to think about. Maybe just to start us off, share a little bit about your journey and sort of what's brought you to where you are and how you help everybody now.
Okay, so my journey has been a long one with this because I have been experiencing it for a very long time, many years, much of my life, without really understanding it. Most of the time it was that thought of self-doubt, the feelings of I'm not good enough. And it's something that carried over through my younger years of being a teenager, in school, later on getting married. That always stayed with me and it was a part of it, but I never understood it. And I thought it was just me. Eventually it got to a point where it was so bad to the point where I didn't feel like I was worthwhile of anything good in my life, where it pushed me to the point where I had to question everything that was going on and think, wait, this can't be what life is supposed to be like, that I don't feel like I'm good enough for anything, or that I'll never be successful in anything that I do, or that I'm just, not good enough even as a person, because I kept reflecting back and thinking, but I am a good person. So why do I feel this way and what's going on? And it eventually pushed me to go and see a therapist and talk through things. And as we were going through things, started seeing things that connected back to my childhood without understanding it. And it became this development over time of understanding of what was happening. And then with my own research, because I was going through a new master's program in psychology and understanding things and starting to see other things click and doing some more stuff, I started realizing it and doing some stuff with imposter syndrome. I thought, oh my gosh, everything that my therapist has been talking about and everything that I'm looking at and going through, it all connects and aligns. And that's when I realized and learned about it. And from that point, everything started to fall into place for me. And I realized that, oh, this isn't a me thing. Like, oh, this is me and this is who I am and I'm not worthy and I'm not good enough. It's based on experiences that I had early on that helped me to create a mindset that was a negative and toxic mindset that just kind of grew over time because of other influences, interactions, and it just set me on this path. So from that point of learning and understanding it, I started to put into place a lot of the things my therapist was telling me about how to reframe my mindset, and then learning more things on my own about what I need to do to reframe my mindset and how I see myself compared to everything else, which kind of changed the whole thing for me. So it was a really big thing. And I ended up learning a lot about how imposter syndrome can actually form and set even at an early age. So that was a big thing on that part. Getting into the point of then wanting to help others. For a period of time, I was a teacher. And again, I would see a lot of the negativity and the self-doubt in my students. And I started realizing, like, paying attention, not to, to them as well, of course, but also to realize like their words and what it was coming from, and started connecting the dots on that, going, oh, yeah, it's all connecting, coming from their own young experiences at this point. And I know what it's like being an adult at this point. And if they're experiencing this now, they're going to go on that same path. So even at that age, when I was talking with them and teaching them, I was trying to help them reframe their mindset at that point to see things in a different way so that the same thing wouldn't happen to them. And then from that point, it was like, okay, if that's happening to them, it's happening to other adults, it's happening in leadership. Just because the more I was doing my own studies, I was like, I want to make a difference and help them to realize that, look, they can break out of this. This isn't something that you have to be stuck with or be fearful about. It's something that you can learn from. You can actually acknowledge it, understand it, admit it, and then figure out, okay, what can I do? And then how am I going to take the steps to break out of it and do so to start living the life and developing the direction you want?
Yeah. Wow, it's powerful. Lots to unpack there. You touched on quite a few different bits there, but let me just, I suppose, to start us off more for people listening, thinking, do I suffer from that? I'm not sure. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Or maybe there's people that we work with or we know, or people that we lead that are potentially showing symptoms or behaviors that would point to, actually, this is really a problem that they're struggling with. What would be some of the symptoms, say, that like you've seen in yourself, in the students, that would identify, reaching out to people and helping them or ourselves, saying, actually, I do need to dig in and get some professional help on this?
So a lot of the time when you're struggling with imposter syndrome, you of course naturally have these ideas of self-doubt. You can't do the job, you can't do something, but it'll go to a bigger point where you really start to feel like you're not the right person for the job. You can look at it in two different ways. For those that experience it on, let's say, a lower level, oftentimes they'll experience it when something new is developing in their life, a life change, some sort of a life development, a new job, new opportunity, something of that nature. And you get into that job and it's like, oh, I can't do this job. I'm the wrong person. I don't know why they hired me for it. But normally after a few weeks, a couple of months, everything starts to fall into place. And you're like, oh, okay, I got the hang of this. I got this. You don't, have it all down, but you feel like, okay, I can figure this out. I got this. So a lot of those imposter feelings start to fade away because you're starting to connect with what you're doing. Those that experience this on a more long-term basis, it's more of like a life experience. It's more about your job. You could be your job for 5 years, but you always feel like I'm not as good as everybody else.
Yeah.
You always feel like they do a better job than I do, that they always will achieve more than I will. That even if you get into an upper position, no matter what you're doing, you're always like, oh, they made a mistake. I don't know how I got this position. That, I just know at some point my boss is going to come in and tell me, yeah, sorry, but we shouldn't have had you here. We need to have you leave. And so there's always, it's like a running thought of not just self-doubt, but almost like insecurity in a big way that this isn't the right thing. You're not the right person. And even when you're working in a job, if a new hire comes in, you end up looking at them going, man, they're already better than I am. They're coming in fresh. They have fresh ideas. You're constantly looking at all the reasons why everybody else is doing a good job and you're doing a bad job, as opposed to seeing what value you bring to it. Along with it, you have to pause and kind of pay attention to what are you doing? Like when you're doing your jobs and going for positions or whatever it might be, it's like, what's your focus? Many people, when they struggle with deep imposter syndrome, it's always looking at that far-reaching goal. It's like, well, if I just get this position, then I'll be seen as worthy. Or if I get this degree or this certificate, or if I do this particular task or start a new job, or in, let's say, in entrepreneurship, start a new business, then I'll be seen as worthy. However, that's the problem because they always put it towards something or somebody else, as opposed to already feeling like they're good enough. So it comes from this lack of internal belief. So if you're constantly questioning, well, do I really feel this way? Do I really suffer from imposter syndrome? Is it something that's hitting me? Think about your current surroundings and think about, okay, well, if I'm feeling self-doubt, why am I feeling self-doubt? Okay, well, I'm feeling self-doubt because I'm in a new job and I don't know if I can figure this out. Okay, well, have you figured out new jobs before? And if your answer is yes, okay, do I have this feeling all the time? No. Okay, well, then it's because you're your new job and you have to get comfortable with it. And you just got to figure out all the steps that go with it, which you've obviously done before. If it's something like, oh, yeah, I feel this way all the time. I feel this way every day, no matter what I do. I've been at my job for 6 years and I still feel this way. Then it's something deep seated. And you have to realize, okay, so I need to shift a little bit more. It's not just a matter of looking back and going, okay, no, I've accomplished stuff before and I did it. I'll do it again. So I just got to work myself through it. This is a bigger issue and I need to figure out how am I going to get myself to get through this? And I need to figure out why is this occurring? So those are some different things that people can think about and look into their own current life, as to what's going on to figure out where am I at on that kind of a scale.
Yeah, I really like the way you put that, particularly like navigating change. It can be choppy and difficult for everyone at different times. As a species, we don't generally by default adapt to change well, I would say. We get set in our ways. We like the familiar. But using that gauge as, have I navigated stuff in the past before and I'm okay now, is a really good kind of starting point. Whereas like, no, I'm always feeling like this when I'm happy, when I'm setting a job, when I'm starting something new. The undercurrent, if you like, is that doubt of self-belief from what I'm hearing you're saying, rather than just maybe this is a new role and I need to learn and upskill myself. It's like, no, actually, whatever I do, I don't think I'm going to be good enough to stay in the role.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's really good, because it's good to that you mention that, really, because people will be listening thinking, oh, actually, maybe I have, got issues that I'm not aware of, or maybe they think, no, it's just a new job, I'll be fine. When actually it's the behavior stuff, isn't it? That one of the key things, you're good at coaching and helping people with the self-awareness side of things to see where on the scale they are,
right, and
then the strategies to change the mindsets, the behaviors that put them in a better place going forwards, that are empowering, rather than walking in fear or doubt all the time.
Exactly.
Which is really good. So how would you say your struggle with it, if that's the best way of describing it, and then overcoming it, was that challenging when you started stepping out, starting a business within leadership? The reason why I ask more is people will be listening, they'll be at different areas in life. Most of them are business owners or multiple business owners. There may be a few that are in leadership within an organization as well. So it's almost magnified if you're in a position of responsibility for a business or for a department or team or whatever. So how, for people listening like that, you then started a business kind of having got through this, but did it try and sort of resurface again, or have you sort of mastered it to the point where it's like, I know it's going to be difficult, but I'm going to get through it because I know I've got through it before?
I wish I could say that it doesn't resurface, but having it but let's say, lifelong, it's something that's always there. And I know that it's going to come up because it was so ingrained into my own self-belief and the way I would think, that it just doesn't disappear, even with, all of my own strategies that I totally do work, and I know they do, but it's that thought of like, it just doesn't disappear. I've just become more aware of it. And so I know how to, bring it back under control, basically, and kind of calm it down so this way I can focus it. A lot of it connects in with starting a new business, even though I was like, okay, feeling better about myself. Yep. All right, let's do this. Okay. Starting a new business, anything of that nature, that's that big new step. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how this works. I mean, it could be about setting up a website. It could be starting up any aspect. And I'm like, I've never done this before. What am I doing? How am I going to do it? And you get into points where it gets frustrating, which is totally normal. And I got to that point of like, oh man, this isn't good. I don't know. I'm going to blow it. I'm going to just fail and mess it up because I've never done this. And I had to stop myself and think, whoa, wait, no. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing with this, being honest with myself, but I can figure it out little by little. I can ask for help. I can search things up on the internet, obviously, and I can talk with others that can help me do it, um, and be able to grow from there. And that's what I had to tell myself. It's like, this isn't a negative, it's a positive, because I'm going to learn from there. One of the things with imposter syndrome is you feel like you have to be the only one to do it. If you have to ask for help, then you're still not good enough. And that's part of it, because you feel like, I have to do it. If I have to ask for help, in my mind, obviously you're not good enough. Why? Because you had to ask for help. See, you're not good enough doing it. So that's something that was in my head that I had to work through and go, no, no, no. I'm asking for help because I don't understand. And I don't understand because I've never done this before. Yeah. How am I going to learn? To ask for help from others. They can help give me some guidance, show me some things that I can do, help me to do what I need, and I can grow from there. So it's definitely, it's a constant learning thing. It's reflecting back on my own experiences and my own thoughts. And even with that, going through building a business, I had to learn to pause and stop and look at some of the small successes, because you always get into these rough patches again, frustration, struggles, obstacles. And it's that point of, again, popping back up going, see, you're not good enough because you can't figure it out. And I'd have to stop and go, okay, wait, true, but look at what I've accomplished so far in this development. Look at what I've developed and brought up to at this point. Is it where I want to be at? No, of course not. I'm still in the process. But before I started this, I didn't have any of this section of what I've done. But look what I've done now. And I've built this, and I've talked to this person who's giving me some ideas, and I've figured this part out on my own. And I did some research over here, and this other person's helped help me to gain more knowledge and help to guide me. So where I am now is much farther than what I was before, which means I'm on the right track. But it's constantly about reflecting and talking myself through it and reassuring myself, because that's what you have to do. You have to learn to connect that within yourself. Because again, with imposter syndrome, you can have friends and family tell you, oh, you're doing a great job. You're always going to be good at this. You're so good. You'll be fine. We can hear it. They can be very sincere. But when you struggle with imposter syndrome, you dismiss it. Why? Well, they're family, they're friends. Of course, they're going to say something good about me. They're not going to tell me, no, you suck. You're not going to be able to do a good job. They're my support system. So they're going to tell me. Do I believe them? No, I don't believe them, because they're supposed to tell me. So it was a matter of learning to internalize it and going, no, look, I did this so far. I can keep doing this. It's going to be a challenge, but I'm going to get through it.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so powerful, isn't it? It's the voice inside us, isn't it? The one we listen to, we choose to listen to, that either helps us move forward or traps us in doubt, and stops us getting outside of where we are, even if we don't like where we are. We just sort of freeze and don't move forward. So that's powerful. I really like the point as well, that we can surround ourselves with good people, great people, and we should definitely. But yeah, you're right. It's like, you have to believe it yourself, don't you? You have to get to the point where you cultivate that belief, that almost it's the shield, isn't it? Other stuff, circumstances, things we don't know about, bounce off of the shield of, but I'm all right. I'm happy with who I am. I'm growing. I'm learning. Not made it yet. Not perfect yet. But I'm enjoying where I am in the process. I think that's key. It's really good what you said there. I think also another thing you touched on, which is really powerful, is the thing of, like, if we never ask for help, then our worlds become very small, and they stay very small, and we're limited in how we can help others because we don't reach out to the same extent. So it is key that needing help, asking for help, it's a part of life, isn't it? Like, that's the point of community, of family, of networks. We're not here just to build our own lives that's solitary from everybody else. It's like, no, we're supposed to be able to help some people, not everybody necessarily, and we're supposed to be able to receive help from others, so that together we can do so much more. I think that's such a key point. Otherwise we do feel we have to do it all ourselves, and life's we're just not built for it, are we? So it's
No.
not going to end well if we stay in that position. This is really practical, and it's really helpful to, you're kind of shining a light on a lot of different areas that we struggle with our thoughts, with our behaviors as well, which are usually the byproduct of what we think, aren't they? Help us to start the process of changing our mindset then. For people listening, think, I know I need a lot more than this, but just for the sake of time we've got, we're only scratching the surface. So definitely connect with Victor and have a conversation more after this. But what would be some of the habits or the behaviors that you suggest to clients that help to start the process of building the right sort of thinking rather than the imposter thoughts?
Okay, one of the first things you have to do is not compare yourself with anybody else, which is sometimes really difficult because, especially in business, or if you're building a business, you're going to look at how everybody else is doing, what they're doing, and go, oh, well, they're doing a better job. Oh, I'm not going to be able to do that. It doesn't matter what they're doing. You need to focus on what you're doing, because what you're doing is going to be the best for you. Your speed, your process, your own voice is what's going to be the best and what's going to connect with everybody else. So you have to stop comparing to everybody else. That's the first thing. Something else you then have to do is to understand and really internalize your own belief of yourself within your own abilities, is to reflect back on your past achievements and successes, small and big. It doesn't matter, because again, suffer from imposter syndrome, you often dismiss them. Oh, it was luck. I lucked out. If it was a degree, the professor was nice. He just wanted to get me through. If it's a job, the other people that were better than me decided to not do it, or they were too busy, or they went for better positions. So we justify it and will dismiss our own successes. So you need to first off look back at your own successes and achievements, but then take it to the next step and write down, what did it take for you to gain those successes and achievements? Because it's never about just them. You've got to look and start seeing, well, what did you do? What time and effort did you put into it? What knowledge did you put into it? What skills did you put into it? And at the same time, what knowledge and skills grew from there to connect with other things? It starts to help to pull things together so you visually see, oh, wow, I did that. That was me. Doesn't mean it was perfect. Doesn't mean you didn't make mistakes. It's just seeing your own abilities that really pulled this all together, which really shines the light on, again, yourself and what you can do. With that then, after doing so, you want to kind of look at looking at your own, connecting with that, it's then looking at your own abilities. Instead of just looking at the achievements, pay attention to your abilities. What do you do well? And again, suffer from imposter syndrome in a deep way. Oh, I don't do anything well. Yeah, you do. We shove it off because, again, everybody else is better than us, but they're not. You have certain things that are your skill and ability. Maybe within your office setting, maybe within other leadership, you're going to see, well, they're really technically oriented and I'm just not there. Okay, that's fine. I don't care about them. What do you do well? Okay, maybe you're really good at connecting with people and making people feel comfortable so that they can actually discuss what they want to do. Okay, that's a skill. Okay, that's a very important skill that most people will just go, it's not that big. No, that's an important skill. And you need to start embracing it and understanding it, because once you start seeing those skills, and even if it's like, oh, I'm really good at organizing, again, that's important. Okay, so you have to see that and pull that and understand, okay, well, this is mine. Good. Do you have all the skills out there? No. Does that matter? No. Focus on what you're good at. Yes, you can still build on others, but if you look at what you're good at, you can then say, okay, well, I'm really good at these 3 things. Just using that as a number. Wonderful. Start building yourself around that and realizing, yeah, this is me. This is who I am. This is what I'm good at. Don't discount them, and don't look at it like, yeah, but so-and-so else is good at this and that. It doesn't matter. What are you good at? So you want to not compare. You want to look at your own achievements and see what qualities, what time and effort you put into building and achieving those achievements or successes. And you want to understand, what are your qualities that really make you you, and that you can bring to help others or to help yourself build a business. Because that's part of it. When you're building a business, if you know, hey, I'm really good at communicating with people, but I can't figure tech out for the life of me. Good. That's not a bad thing. At least okay, for the tech part of my business, I do need to connect with somebody else to either help me learn if I'm capable of doing that, or to just do it for me, because that would be the better thing. But once you do that, you then start understanding some of your own limitations. So instead of feeling like I have to do it all myself, you start going, no, I'm going to focus on my good parts, build up some others, and gain help. It's just like you were saying, working with others, asking for help, it helps to expand our own connections and our own abilities, basically, because we're able to connect with others by doing so. So this is this is a way for you to start being able to expand your own self.
Yeah, that's powerful. That really is powerful. I think everyone should just pause for a moment and think about what you've said there, because there's so many different key things. For people listening, catch the episode again, take notes, go back over it, make sure you catch all this. Don't just go through it once and think you got everything, because you haven't. Some of it will make a lot more sense the second time, the third time that you listen to it. It's worth the investment because it will help you change the way you think about things, the way you think about yourself, the way you approach your business and other people's businesses, the way you lead your teams, etc. So it's definitely worth the investment on that. It's one of the key things is identifying the strengths that you've got. It's like, actually, maybe then Victor says, maybe I am good at this. If I have to be good at something, I'd pick this. Just run with that, isn't it? We'll start with that.
Yeah,
then
definitely.
you can build on that and keep developing that, rather than try and be, my colleague, my partner, whatever, is really good at that. So I obviously need to get as good as them. It's like, no, that's not how it works. You're right. I think one of the traps, something I learned a long time back, which was so liberating, was the fact that, I'm quite an organized person. I'm wired that way. So until you realize people are really that different, you just assume that everybody's organized, that's the default everyone operates by. It's like, no, the world's a big place. People are very different. And it's valuing and appreciating the differences, rather than think, like you say, I'm comparing myself to them. Oh, they're much better than I am, so why would I bother? It's like, no, you have something unique to bring to the world, your own flavor to whatever it is that you're good at. That's what you need to focus on. It's really good. So good. This is so good stuff. How then, you've mentioned before, because you mentioned so much, I want to go back into a lot of it and unpack it even more. But you've mentioned another key point, which I think is crucial, and it's developing the behavior of thinking that way. So when you start the new business or whatever it is, and those tendencies can come back, it's like, no, how do you sort of keep the genie in the bottle, if that's the right way of the right figure of speech to use? It's the same with any other type of mindset perspective, isn't it? Like, if we're particularly perfectionist or just fearful about this, that, and the other, and I don't say that in a way that belittles it, we're all working our way through good mindsets, bad mindsets, stuff from the past, and all the rest of it. But it's the daily, moment by moment, not being too hard on yourself if suddenly you're aware and think, actually, I've started to think that way again. It's like, okay, that's fine. Flag that up. Jettison that out. This is what I want to think about, isn't it? It's not the. It would be amazing, wouldn't it, if Victor, if you develop this pill that people just take once a day, and everything''s fine. There's no imposter syndrome. It doesn't work like that, does it? It's the same with, different areas of our minds. So it's the day-to-day, moment by moment realization that it takes effort, but it's not impossible. And as you get and start to develop it, it becomes more of a habit. You do change your perspective about how you see the world, how you see yourself, how you see maybe opportunities or challenges out there.
Oh, yes.
Do you have specific habits or maybe triggers that help to bring you back on track if you've started to wander or started to maybe you got tired and you've allowed the wrong sort of thinking, which is affecting your mood. Do you have any sort of practical, this flags it up to me, so I then know, right, pull yourself together, focus on the right things, and go forwards?
Yeah, oh, definitely. Because you're absolutely right. You have to, and it's, as much as people want the quick fix, and there's lots of stuff out there, especially with imposter syndrome, there'll be things that'll say, we'll get rid of it forever. We'll give you these, 10 tips and you're done with it. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. That'd be great if it would, but no, it doesn't. It's a continual thing. And for me, something that I've learned to do is at the end of each week, I'll reflect back on what I've accomplished in my week. Little ones, big ones, and it doesn't have to be just business oriented. It could be just other things that are in my life, because it shows a diversity of what I'm doing. And also it's connecting into that aspect where I'm not just focusing on business, where it's like, oh, well, I got these 10 things done over this week, which is good for business. And you feel like you're good for business, but then you'll start to have imposter syndrome, feeling like, yeah, but the rest of my life, I'm not good enough for that. It's like, no. Look at all the other things that have done, what you had to do, what you've gone through. That's what I've had to do. With that, I've also learned to be very mindful of my thoughts. So when I have those negative thoughts popping in, and it can happen easily where you're not even paying attention to it because it's so just second nature at this point.
Yeah.
But when it hits me, I'm like, wait, I'm just negative. I'm getting negative about myself. I'm just sitting here going, I'm terrible. I'm not going to do this. It's never going to work. I'm never going to figure this out. Business is going to fail. I'm going to go nowhere. And it's like, okay, now that's an extreme way of it. But even still, it's that point of going, wait. Okay, pause. That's what, and you have to pause yourself from everything else going on. It's like, okay, wait, okay, that's not true. I know that's not true. It's my imposter syndrome running away, throwing these negative thoughts. Think about, what have I done so far? Even just today. Okay, well, I'm working on this and I'm working on that. Oh, I'm doing a podcast, but I flubbed up. Okay, but did I still get the information out? Yes. Was it still a good one? Yes. Was it completely successful? I don't know. Hopefully so. I can't control everything, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's where it's at. You have to also realize, okay, I can't control everything. I can do the best job I can. Now, that's what I'll look back. Did I do the best job I could at that point? Yeah, I did. Okay, good. So again, I'm not beating myself up. I'm not thinking like I'm a failure. The next part is, if I did come across challenges or mistakes or failure points, it's again, not looking at them as the end all be all. Because if I do that, it's like, oh man, I totally messed this up. It's not going to work now. It's done. Everything's crashed. I might as well just get over it and just let it go. No, it's a thought of, okay, I made mistakes. Okay, what can I do better the next time with this? And it might be a fact of working on something that I've got right now that I still have to make corrections for. It's like, okay, I'm looking at it going, okay, what didn't I do correct that I need to? So this way, tomorrow when I start fresh, I can sit down and take the right steps and go, okay, you know what? I should look into this. You know what? Maybe I need to call this person, because this person will help me to let me know what I should do to fix my mistake, or give me a new idea that I'm not thinking about. And I need to make sure I write down these 3 things for tomorrow. Okay, now I've just helped myself to not make the same mistakes tomorrow. And if it's something that, let's say it's a podcast interview, using that as an example, that I flubbed a lot of it, I didn't do well, but I got some information out. Again, it's that thought of, okay, well, what do I have to do the next time? Okay, maybe just kind of be a little bit more relaxed. Don't be so stressed about making sure I get the words right. Thinking about just having a conversation and knowing, I know the information. Do I know this information? Yes, I know this content. I know this information. Why am I stressing myself out? So again, the next time I do something like this, I use that in my head and going, okay, just going to take my time. I know this stuff. I can do this. But it's the thought of using failures and mistakes as learning lessons.
Yeah.
It's the thought of reminding myself, I'm sensing this, I'm saying these words to myself to stop and then reflect on past achievements, past improvements, so I can actually take these steps to control that imposter voice so it doesn't start running rampant. And these are just different things that I've learned to do that help to calm that voice, to quiet that voice. And this way, my inner voice grows in strength. And that self-belief is like, oh yeah, wait a minute, I do know how to fix this. I can figure this out. Or even, okay, I don't know how to fix this, but I know who I can talk to. And so that's giving me hope, it's giving me direction, and I know there are possibilities for growth.
Yeah, that is really good. Yeah, the habit of reflecting back on your day, but also with the right perspective, is such a key thing for personal growth for anyone in whatever they're struggling with, whatever they want to develop. But that's a really good way you've put it, of looking back and thinking, yeah, celebrate what you can,
Mm-hmm.
notice things that you want to make changes to improve, but also it's like, yeah, you can't rewind the day, can you? And it's like,
No.
it happened. There was a lot more good. I think if we were honest a lot of the time, there's a lot more good stuff that we managed to do either intentionally or maybe by accident. Maybe just smiling at somebody as you walk past. We wouldn't necessarily count that as a really big thing, but somebody else might.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of things we do in a day, but yeah, we can easily be too hard on ourselves, and not value it. I guess the habit, the practice of being grateful as well, ties well into what you're saying with that. Just be thankful for the things you have done today,
Mm-hmm.
and that you've got an opportunity to learn to do it slightly differently tomorrow if you feel you need to, or as you say, get a plan in place for actions to change things. This
Exactly.
is really good. Talking of podcasts, you certainly nailed this one, so thank you for that. But also, you're developing or launching your own, aren't you? Tell us a little bit
Yes, I
about
am.
that. Just
Okay, so if everything works well, I'll be launching it sometime in the month of November. Um, and it's called Authentically Imperfect. And it's the idea is, and connecting in with imposter syndrome, but also expanding beyond that, is as you struggle with imposter syndrome, you're often putting up a mask. So you're not really being your authentic self. You're trying to be what everybody else expects you to be, and to live your life in that way, which ends up just crippling your own development. So the authentically part is about you learning to embrace who you are, your likes, your qualities, things that you value, and really kind of let it shine, basically, compared to what anybody else might appreciate, whether it's music, movie, clothing, your own abilities, whatever it might be. But it's about embracing who you are and truly appreciating it, and using it to your best ability. The imperfect part comes into the aspect of imposter syndrome as well. Is often you struggle, or we struggle, with feeling like we have to be perfect, and if we're not, again, we're not good enough. But that connects into the aspects of failure. It's like, it's okay to fail, it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to have things not work out, but learn from them. And it's sometimes too, depending on if it's just you, because again, like I talked about with comparison, we often compare ourselves. You can see it easily in social media all over. But don't look at somebody like, oh, well, they have the perfect life, they have the perfect face, whatever it may be. Appreciate your own qualities for what they are, and embrace them, and totally kind of build it up. And this applies into so many different areas, whether it's just your everyday life or it's in connection with leadership, because so many times we see leaders, they're trying to be like somebody else. They're trying to set themselves up to say, oh, well, look, these leaders are like this and they're doing well, so I should be like them. But when you do that, you end up missing out and cutting out the qualities of you that are going to make you a really good leader, a powerful leader, in the aspect of being able to positively influence others and help to grow other leaders, because you're trying to shove yourself into a dynamic that other people are. At the same time, with leadership too, when you're looking at perfect, it's like, well, I've got to be perfect. If I'm not, oh, I'm going to be looking like a bad leader. I'm like, no, admit your mistakes. Everybody makes them, so what? But it's not the mistakes that count. It's how you learn and grow from them. And those that work with you will see that and will go, whoa, okay, if they can do that, I can do that. I want to know how they did that. They're going to learn from you. And that's the whole point of leadership, is being able to help grow other leaders and be able to build up others to kind of reach those same heights and goals that you have. So it's a podcast that I'm looking forward to being able to, there'll be a lot of me talking, but I'll be then bringing in guests as well from different industries, and talking about their own leadership, connections with imposter syndrome, what difficulties that they've experienced and how they've overcome them by being themselves, and being able to represent that you being you is the best thing. That's what's needed. Whether you're a leader in a business, whether you're starting your own business as an entrepreneur, what the people need is you. Your qualities, your personality, everything that's great about you is what's going to make a difference in what you do. And so I'm hoping to use my podcast as a way to kind of enlighten that and bring that out in people and help them to understand how they can actually connect with themselves.
Sounds really good. Definitely. Yeah. We rob the world if we try and be somebody else, don't we? We really do. There's some good wisdom there. Brilliant. We've run out of time for today. But before we go, for people that have been listening, I know you've helped them. Definitely. We always encourage everyone listening to take action one way or another, put something in place, change something to help you develop and grow from what you've heard. What's the best way for people to touch base, to find out more about Victor, about what you do with the coaching aspect and the podcast that's coming shortly as well? Head to the website. Is that the best place?
Two things. One is the website, definitely. So it would be victormos.com. That's my website. Or going to my Instagram, which again has a variety of different things plus links to it, and the Instagram is docmos, DOCMOS, inspired. And that's the one for Instagram. So they could find it at Instagram, look for that. And I've got different videos on there that connect in with just learning to connect with yourself, your own appreciation, imposter syndrome as well, plus other aspects that connect into leadership and links to my website and more.
Sounds good. Brilliant. Yeah. There'll be links below for people to click through as well. But yeah, and definitely we encourage everybody, find out more. Just spend a few moments, head over to the website, have a look around, see what Victor does, see how he can help you. He can definitely help people. You know that just from listening to this episode. And it's different steps for different people, but explore, get curious, find out, take action to change a mindset, a behavior, an approach, something that you really want to sort of think, I really wish I didn't have this. There's a way to get out of it. There really is, which is good. There is hope. If you don't get anything else the first time around of listening to this, remember there is hope. Victor's overcome imposter syndrome. He's gone through it. Now he helps other people do the same. So there's definitely hope. Thanks, Victor, for coming and spending your time with us today, sharing some of your insights. We have only scratched the surface, I know, but you've managed to, in a short time, unpack a lot of things that can really help people and just start us thinking more about, okay, that makes sense. Now I understand this. And it's a process, isn't it? It's a day-to-day, moment-by-moment journey. So yeah, really appreciate that. It'd be great if you could come back at some point, because I love talking about it. I love chatting with you about it and just learning as well.
So, I'd love to, definitely.
Brilliant. Okay. For everybody else as well, as we say, take action as always. Don't let this just be another podcast that you listen to. But help it change your life and transform your life and your business for the better. That's everything for now. We will catch you next time.
Thank you for listening to Yeukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yeukai.businessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.